What's up everybody, and welcome to round 3 of the championship. After a second place finish in Malaysia, can we carry the momentum forward in China? As you can see, it didn't really work out for me in qualifying. Ending up in P8 after a rain hit qualifying session, there was only time for 1 or 2 laps on the options. And Mas611 was quick enough to take pole position, followed closely by Theo Carlos to complete the front row. My teammate Ollie Kart in P5 on the prime tire with 40% chance of rain in the race. Kex35 unfortunately disconnected in the garage, which means we will start with 14 drivers on the grid.
Complete, ready.
And as we are about to make our way to the grid on the option tires, I think the start is going to be tricky. We find ourselves in the middle of the grid, the car is heavy and we got a long right-hander coming up. I love to watch this race on television, lots of overtaking opportunities on this track. Driving here is another story, and with rain expected it could become a serious challenge for me and the other drivers in the Chinese Grand Prix.
Let's try for a 4th place or higher in today's race.
As the lights are coming up, 5 red lights, and the Chinese Grand Prix is on the way. We're getting a good launch of the line, much better than the Holy Sam 14 who bucked down a bit at the start. So we are already moving up 1 place there, and we have his teammate Bessa on the outside of us at turn 1 here, this long right-hander. I prefer to stay on the inside here, getting a tap from behind there and again getting hit there, and we come together with the Force India. Andrew Holmes 17 was a bit aggressive at the start there, and we are falling back to P11. Skipping ahead now to the end of the lap, where we are right on the back of Travis in the Ferrari, and coming up to this long right-hander, and there's an HRT off there and he takes a Caterham with him. It was the Holy Sam and Red Tabor, and we are moving up 2 places because of that. So we are now in P9 using the rest of our curves on this long straight, but the DRS is not activated yet of course, so we were probably going to need to get past Travis there. There's another incident at the hairpin here. Beza and my teammate Ollie Kart, they had a coming together and they are falling back now. So we are in P7 now after completing the first lap. Right on the back of Travis still as we skip ahead to the end of lap 2. We want to get past him quickly as he is on the prime tires. We are making a move down the inside at the hairpin. Can we make it stick? We outbrake ourselves, we run wide, and that's a shame because that will allow the Ferrari driver to get the cutback on us. As you can see, he's coming back and now running wide at the final corner though. So we are getting a much better exit here on the pit straight. Can we have an opportunity here? We dive down the inside of him and we are taking that place. Or is he going to come back at turn 1? We just lose the rear slightly there, and he is coming to the inside, giving us a little tap there, but nothing major, and we can keep the position. That's an important move to move us up into P6 now, ahead of the prime runner Travis there. A bit further into the lap, and we are braking for the hairpin here, braking hard but running a tad wide again, and that's not looking good. That's going to be costly as Travis is going to get back at us, and he takes that place back as we hit the bullet at the final corner, putting us in a semi-spin, and that's going to lose us even more places here as we have to slot in behind Andrew Holmes 17 in P9. As Dan27 puts in the fastest lap of the race so far with a 1:40.7. It's a struggling start for us so far, and we have to make up a lot of ground to the front runners if we want to get back in this race. Skipping ahead now to the end of the lap, and you can see we get the DRS on Andrew Holmes 17, the Force India driver, but he's too far away to make any move at the hairpin. But I think he outbrakes himself. You can see the smoke coming off his tires, and that's an easy position gained for us as we move up to P8.
Radar suggests light rain in around 15 minutes.
Light rain in 15 minutes time. So I'm doing a little calculation here. 15 minutes, that's about 10 or 11 laps. So we're probably going to need to do another option stint before the rain comes. Meanwhile, we have Red Tabor right on the back of us as we switch the fuel back up to mix 3 in order to defend the position, but we are leaving the door open here at the hairpin, and he is diving up the inside here and makes that stick. So a good move by the Caterham driver, and we are falling back to P9. But on the following lap, Red Tabor runs wide at turn 5, which allows us to get a much better exit than him, and we are now right on his gearbox. Suddenly he jumps a bit forward though, so there's probably lag involved, and all of a sudden we are up into P8 now. So we moved up one place without passing any car on the track. What exactly happened there will become clear later in the race, as meanwhile Benalesi, the Mercedes driver, is keeping up with us nicely. He's still in the DRS zone, only 0.4 of a second behind us, and Red Tabor continues to lag in front of us. It's actually distracting me a little bit, and you can see we are almost losing the rear there and putting us into a semi-spin, and I'm obviously not comfortable driving at the moment, and I'm desperately in need of some clear air to get back in this race. So I'm deciding to make a rather early stop here to make the undercut on Red Tabor. But as we skip ahead to the following lap, you can see Red Tabor responds with his first stop of this race, also going for another set of options before the rain comes. As you can see, it didn't really work out, the undercut here, but of course he is on cold tires, so I'm just going to attack him as soon as possible, and we are just diving up the inside here at turn 5. He's still lagging a bit there. I'm not sure where he is exactly, but we make it stick, and there was a clean overtake for P8 there. Now on to the end of lap 18, and it has started raining in China. Red Tabor is still on the back of us. He's following us around, as we are still having a pretty decent grip on these tires. But it seems that there are a few people making their stop here already for the intermediate tires, and it's my teammate actually who's the first to blink there, and he is switching to the intermediate tires. And as we are coming through these first corners of the lap, you can see we still have decent grip on these tires. But skipping ahead now to the end of the lap, and you can see there's a Mercedes car off the track. He ran wide at the hairpin, and we are running wide as well slightly there. So we are starting to lose grip, and this might be a good time to switch over to the intermediate tires. So we are coming in for our stop and doing a little pirouette there in the gravel, but thankfully we keep our front wing on the car. For the first time this season, the teams are getting the intermediate tires out, and it will be interesting to see who is going to get the timings right. As we check the race director, you can see there are different strategies going on at the moment. Some people even already on the full wet. It's the McLarens who are going for the full wet compound already. And as we are coming out of the pits, you can see that there is a McLaren off the track there. He went straight on after coming out of the pits on the wet tires. It's Aerodan 27 who's obviously making the wrong call right here. A bit further into the lap, and we are coming up to another McLaren here. It's Moss 611, who is also out on the full wet compound, and he's struggling to keep his car pointing in the right direction, as we easily breeze past him here for 5th place after making the right call for the intermediate tires. On to the following lap, and you can see Benalesi in the Mercedes right in front of us is struggling for grip here, and the sky is getting darker, the rain is getting heavier, the conditions are getting worse and worse and worse, and it seems that we are going to need the full wet soon. I'm switching the fuel back to mix 1, ordering my team to get the full wet compound ready, as we are closing in quickly to the back of the Mercedes driver, and he loses the rear on the exit there. That's promoting us up into P4, as we are now coming in for the full wet compound, and it seems that Indrexen decided to stay out right there, so we are now back into 5th place, but he is going to stay out on the intermediate tires with the rain getting heavier and heavier. Having another look at the race director to see which tire everybody's on, and coming out of the pits in P6, a 2.9 second pit stop. Good job by the Marussia boys and getting me out quickly once again. Using a lot of caution and being careful, feeling my way around the track and the conditions before putting the throttle down as we short shift out of turns 2 and 3 here. Skipping ahead a bit further into the lap, and we have caught up right to the back of Indrexen. A lot of smoke coming out of his car there, and he is obviously on the wrong tire at the wrong time, moving us up into 5th place here as we skip ahead to the end of the lap. And as you can see, there are still a few cars out there on the intermediate tires. It's Ben Alesi, the Mercedes driver, who has to come in now for the full wet compound, and that's going to drop him back behind us. As we cross the line, we are only 2.3 seconds behind So Solid now, the Ferrari driver who was running at the front at the start of the race, and we are now in a podium position after passing our teammate Olicard in the pits as well. Getting these strategy decisions right was crucial for me to get back in this race as we again short shift out of turns 2 and 3, and coming up to the end of sector 1 here, 2.7 seconds behind the Ferrari driver and 2.4 seconds ahead of my teammate. Skipping ahead to the end of lap 25, and I was actually having a good pace in the wet, bringing the gap down to So Solid to 1.8 seconds now, and my teammate is dropping back a little bit. We are opening a gap to him, and he is now 6.9 seconds behind us. I was feeling comfortable with the car. My setup was really stable in these conditions, but as we skipped ahead to the end of the lap, you can see we are losing pace here, and the rain is not as heavy as it was before. The conditions are improving again, and in the distance there you can see that the Ferrari loses the rear on the exit of this corner. Obviously he is struggling for grip at the moment, and that promotes us up into 2nd place.
You've moved up to 2nd place.
Braking for the hairpin now, and let's see how we get around this corner. I'm keeping it on the track, it seems, and I still feel okay actually on these tires. I don't feel the need to switch over to the intermediates yet, but as you can see on the map, So Solid dives into the pits right there. I'm staying out for a couple of more laps to make my stop for the Inters at the start of lap 29 here, coming out of the pits and coming out just behind the Ferrari driver, so he is making the undercut work on us, and we have to slot in behind him in 3rd place. The conditions are tricky, and this exit is very tricky in particular. What I do is just short shift out of this corner in order to keep the traction going, and as we are coming up to the end of sector 1, we are 3.4 seconds behind So Solid, and my teammate is right on the back of me now, 0.8 of seconds behind us. On to the following lap, and again coming through this tricky section at the start of the lap, I did not feel as comfortable as I felt on the wet compound, and I did not have great pace on these intermediate tires as we are now braking for turn 5, and under downshifting I'm losing the rear there, having to back out, running wide and losing that place to my teammate there. Skipping ahead to lap 34, and you can see that the sky is blue, the weather is improving, and some people are already going for the option tires. You can see the HRT boys on the options already, but they are struggling for grip as I just lapped Bessa there, and the Holy Sam is in front of us trying to keep his car pointing in the right direction, but he's just not having the grip yet. The track is still a bit too damp, a bit too wet for the slick compound, I think. Skipping to the following lap though, I'm losing the rear on the long right-hander here.
There's a chance of light rain in 15 minutes time. 15 minutes.
Meanwhile, I'm getting a message on the radio that there is light rain expected in around 15 minutes, but with 20 laps to go, I'm going for the prime tires here.
Okay, prime for your next box.
as I feel that I can make it to the end of the race possibly on the prime tires with a blue sky and a little bit of rain. This way I have the opportunity to not having to do another pit stop this race. Coming out of the pits in 4th place.
You're free to rejoin the track.
My teammate is running in 3rd place at the moment with Andrew Holmes 17 making his way up into P5 behind us, but we don't have to worry about him at the moment as there is a decent gap between us. Coming up to the end of sector 1, 8.2 seconds is the gap to my teammate as I lock up the brakes and run wide here, maybe cold tires. As we are now coming around the final corner to complete lap 45, 11 laps remaining, and there's someone in the pits. It's So Solid, the Ferrari driver, who apparently went for the option tires with 21 laps to go, in contrast to our decision to go for the prime tires. So now he has to do another stop for the options and coming out in P4 behind us because of it. As we move on to lap 50, we are looking at a 3rd place at the moment. But suddenly, yellow flags, debris out on the track. It's my teammate Olicard who lost his front wing apparently, and this is promoting us to 2nd place, but it's bad news for my teammate as he's going to have to do a full lap without a front wing and he is going to drop back because of that. Meanwhile, we are on the final lap and it's So Solid who is closing in quickly, 6.6 seconds now behind us, with Gio Carlos leading this race with a gap of about 46 seconds to us. So the focus is on maintaining the gap to the Ferrari behind us as we are having a look at the split times after sector 1. 5.3 seconds is now the gap, so he's closing in quickly on his option tires, and these prime tires are getting a bit worn out, but the gap should still be enough to keep him behind us, and that will mean a 2nd place finish for us in this race as Gio Carlos wins the Chinese Grand Prix and making it 3 wins in a row this season. A great start of the season for him, with So Solid now down to 3.9 seconds with 1 sector remaining. This is the final sector of the race, a race in which I struggled at the start. Some good strategy decisions were needed to get us back in this race, and most of all it was consistency and strategy that got us a podium today. But as we are coming around the hairpin here, it seems that Travis was in 2nd place all this time, and that explains what happened on lap 8 earlier. So we are going to have to settle for 3rd place. And these are the full race results. Gio Carlos makes it 3 wins in a row, followed by Travis with his first podium of the season. Myself with another podium finish in 3rd. Then So Solid, Andrew Holmes 17 and my teammate in P6 setting the fastest lap of the race. Further down we have Red Tabor, Moss, The Holy Sam, Beza and Tadger. Not finishing the race are Dan27, Indrexen, Benalacy and Kex35. And after round 3, this is what the Drivers' Championship looks like. As we have now come to an end of this round, I want to thank you for watching and see you next week in Bahrain.